Hello, folks, and welcome back to Sound Design for Relaxation, Meditation, and Sleep. This is the behind the scenes series where I talk about what I'm doing and show what I'm doing in my sound experiences or sound experiments for relaxation, meditation, and sleep. And in this episode, we're going to look at binaural beating. Binaural beating, simply put, is when you put sound frequency in one ear and a slightly detuned sound frequency in the other ear. It creates a pulsing effect that you hear, and you can control the rate of this pulsing. And the rate of this pulsing is utilized to basically influence the brain to change its frequency, so to speak, or to basically change its brainwave patterns from a more alert state to a more hypnagogic state, or even a sleep state. And so we'll be talking about these different factors. Overall, it is something that studies show have worked for some people and not for others, but that's why I use multiple techniques in my recordings. But we're going to look at this aspect of it today. Before we get started, I'm going to do the shout out section. Thank you for your continued support, Amelia. No name, well, nameless one. He has a number of nameless names. And Mr. Mike Gourley, also thank you for the shout out that you gave to me and my wife in the most recent release you have. I'm putting Mike Gourley's link in the description again. People need to check him out. Alex Petty, I'm glad you're enjoying the Learn Synthesis with VCV Rack series. And I'm putting your link in the description too. People should check out Alex Petty music. Great stuff. And Milan, a new commenter, dropped me a kind message, and I went and checked out the music. Great stuff. I'm going to put that link in the description. These are 3 artists that folks should check out. We independent artists need to stick together and help support one another, and I love the music of all 3 of these artists. So okay, I think we're ready to learn some stuff, so away we go. Okay, so here we are in good old VCV Rack. Folks that are following along with this series are well familiar with it. If anyone needs some tutorials on it, I do have said tutorials on this channel. Learn Synthesis with VCV Rack. You can use any of those as you see fit, depending on your background and so forth. It is a free download, and while there is a premium version, a pro version, there's a lot that you can do for free with this software. It's seemingly endless, the modules that are free for it, because of the broader community development that's going on. So anyway, just a quick layout here. Got a mixer down here, mixing multiple things together. I've got ocean wave sounds here. The whole binaural beating approach does date back to Robert Monroe and his usage of it in the Gateway Experience recordings. Great stuff there, and it's been a big inspiration for me. And up here I have the oscillators for binaural beating, which is what we're going to be talking about primarily here at first, and I'll tell you, what the use of the ocean wave sounds are for. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to also just turn up the first oscillator here, or pair of oscillators. And that will be this channel right here. I'm going to turn up the group it's on. Oh, that's the waves. Sorry about that. There we go. So what we're hearing right now is binaural beating. It's being produced by these two oscillators right here. One is set to one frequency, and this one's set to another frequency, but they're very close, and they're separated in hertz. Now, what I like to do is I like to tune my oscillators based on A432 as opposed to A440. A440 is basically the standard tuning for music in the Western Hemisphere. It means that the A above middle C is 440 hertz, and the frequencies for all the other pitches are basically designated relative to that in our equal temper tuning system. But since I like to use A432, I actually have a pair of oscillators here where the central frequency is A432, but really this one is 2 hertz lower, 430, and this one's 2 hertz higher, 440. I mean, hold on, 434. Yeah, so let's actually hear that one since I'm talking about it. That would be right here. So that is, you basically perceive somewhat the central frequency, even though what you're hearing, especially if you're using headphones, I mean, you'll still hear the pulsing effect either way, but the actual method of using binaural beating is best done with headphones so that your left ear is receiving one frequency, in this case 430 hertz, and the right ear is hearing 434 hertz. So that means they're 4 hertz apart in difference, and that means that basically you're hearing 4 pulses per second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so this is set to A432, and then what I decided for the others is to create kind of like a harmonic series, but going down, where this is the fundamental. It's 2 octaves below. A432, 1 octave below is 216. 2 octaves below is 108 hertz. So these oscillators are set to -2 and +2 above 108 hertz. So this is 106 hertz, and this is 110 hertz. And in VCV Rack, you set that directly right here by typing in the frequency amount. And so we are still hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cycles per second of pulsing. Now, if you get too low in frequency, that is going to it'll get too low in frequency for that to really be as effective. But such low frequencies like that are, in many cases, as you approach going down to 30 and 20 hertz, they start disappearing from our ability to hear them. Especially 20 hertz is ideally the lowest frequency the human ear can hear, and that's ideally. And plus, it can incur some rattling in headphones and different things like that. So you know, this is about the bottom of what I like to use. And from what I heard in Robert Monroe's recordings, they're around 100 hertz, give or take 1 or 2 hertz in that area, and still differentiated by 4. I could hear 4 pulses per second. So his are slightly lower in tuning than mine. But I just wanted to keep things aligned with A432 because there's been, you know, some research done with that in that A432 is like going back to like music from the Baroque period and before, and has, I don't know, just maybe some ineffable qualities about it that are just a little bit more beautiful. And I kind of agree, in at least, especially in using these tones. If we use here, so these are, all these are -2 and +2 on either side, left side and right side. But the center pitches are what I'm going to say. 108 hertz here, 216, and then like a harmonic spectrum, the next one is 3 times the fundamental. That fundamental is 108, so 3 times that is 324. So this is basically 322, and this is 326. All right, throwing a lot of numbers at you here. Then, of course, this is 430 and 436. So if we hear them, I like to keep the lowest one strongest. Now we're hearing kind of like 2 pulses per second. But what I'm going for here is the delta brainwave frequency range, which is between 1 and 4 hertz, or 1 and 4 pulses per second. So even if this kind of slows things down to 2 a little bit in how these 2 frequencies interact with each other, and it really depends on how loud I make this one. There, I can really hear the 4 now. And then this kind of makes it kind of like more like 2. Now we're hearing 4 again. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But still within that 1 to 4 pulses per second, shall we say, range. And then that kind of slows it back down to 2. Kind of. Still all within that 1 to 4 pulses per second wave for range, which is for delta brainwave frequencies. Now, we're going to experiment here a little bit and just talk about some of the other brainwave frequencies. Delta brainwave frequency is associated with sleep. That's supposedly the frequency of brainwaves in deep sleep. Now, if we were to change this, let's say we want to take these and put them 7 hertz apart, basically above 4, between 4 and 8 hertz, or we could actually just do 8. 4 and 8 hertz is what's called the theta wave range. And those are associated with the hypnagogic state, a state of kind of being partially awake, partially asleep. Maybe kind of like when you first wake up in the morning and you're kind of still groggy and still kind of remember your dreams, and you're kind of like in that space between worlds. So I'm going to basically take this and let's say 8 pulses per second. So if centrally it's supposed to be 108 hertz, We do a -4 on that. This should be 104. And this will be 112. It's best for each side to be the same distance from center. So that's a faster rate. And I'll let this play for a bit. And you can let me know in the comments section what you think of this. Is this... Either way, it is a deeper state than the beta state, which is our normal waking state brain function. Now, on its own, I could understand it being a little bit, you know, you're hearing a faster rate of pulsing, and maybe it sounds a bit too fast, especially when all you're hearing is it. But what if we, but the idea is, you know, you want your ears to be hearing that. I just flipped these around accidentally. Come on. There we go. You want your ears to be hearing that, but it doesn't mean there can't be other things there. And that's why I like to use the ocean waves for soothing. Kind of nestle it in there. Now, I have been toying with the idea of, well, eventually I want to split up my actual sound experience series, which is called the Sound Experiments for Relaxation, Meditation, and Sleep, and split them up for some for relaxation, some for meditation, some for sleep, you know. And for the meditation, it would be considered that the theta wave range, what we're hearing right now, would be best for that. Now, the ocean waves can be soothing and kind of help relax you so that you don't just have this tones being too prominent, you know, or just on their own. It's a way of just kind of like allowing your ears to kind of go soft and accept them as your mind just kind of floats on the waves, so to speak. Now, that being said, let's at least talk about the others, just so it's more of a complete information here. The next up would be alpha waves. Alpha waves are associated with like a trance state. It is often said that, in trance-inducing music could be some drumming and things like that are utilized to help induce an alpha wave state. Now that range can be I see different things different places, but they're all in the same general area of something like 8 to 12. And so let's say we go into the middle of that and make it 10. And in that case, we're subtracting 5 on one side, adding 5 on the other. Since our center is 108, this will be 103. And this will be 113. So it'll be hard to hear a big difference there because in our hearing of these pulses, 8 per second versus 10 per second are going to sound very similar. And I think something like this could definitely work with some sort of a drone sound that is either like chanting or a low didgeridoo, something that's in that pitch area, just kind of like gelling it together, but you still get the one frequency in the left ear and the one frequency in the right ear, so that the pulsing can have its effect. And after a while, this does sound soothing to me in a way. But this might be more of something for like relaxation. Or maybe meditation as well. I think it's going to be different for different people. So anyway, then the next one, I'm going to actually use different oscillators for it. Let's put this back to what they were doing originally. 106, 110. 4 cycles per second of pulsing. Now I need to use a higher frequency for what I'm going to do next. In fact, I should probably use 432, which is this one here. The beta wave state, our waking state, is like 13 hertz up to 30. Meaning, when I'm saying hertz in this case, I'm talking about not the frequency of the pitches, but the frequency of the pulsing. Now, when you're getting that far apart in hertz, if we did it with the lower oscillators, like especially at 30 hertz, that would sound more like a harmony to us rather than beating. And in fact, this might still as well. Let me go somewhere in like 20 and see how that is. Yeah, that's still... let's do 14. So I'm going to do a -7 and a +7. At least to start, let's say our center pitch is 432. -7 would be 425. And +7 would be 439. Do I have the wrong fader up? Is that... No, this has got to be it. No, that's the wrong fader. There we go. That will be something to wake you up. That gets you into that beta wave state of wakefulness. But let me show you what I'm talking about in, like if you go up to 30 hertz. Like here, you could definitely hear the binaural pulsing. Even if you're listening to this on a cell phone speaker, you're still going to hear the pulsing, although you wouldn't benefit from different frequencies going to the different hemispheres of the brain, which is what you really want for binaural beating. But at least you could still hear the pulsing. It, in fact, would probably be a little bit more harsh if it wasn't going through headphones into either ear. So let's see, let's try the 30. So if we're going to go -15 from 432, that would be 417. And then if we're going to do +15 on 432, that would be 447. All right, I'm still hearing pulsing, but you can also hear them almost like different notes, because they are probably being that far apart. But as you go higher in frequency, a difference of 30 hertz will sound more like beating and less like different pitches. Let's say, for example, like I'm not even going to bother staying in 432, but let's just say we're going to do a 30 hertz difference on 800 hertz. So that would be 770 and, oh, wait a minute, no. I subtracted 30 from 800. Let's say 885 and 815. No, what am I doing? 785 and 815. There, now it sounds more like pulsing, like actual beating. And yeah, that'll wake you up. So let's go back to our good old 430 and 434. So 4 cycles per second of beating on the central frequency of 432. Now, I don't just use these tones for beating in the sound experiences. There we go. I do, you know, and sometimes I'm using them in this array where they're kind of like harmonics of each other. It's strong enough that they're almost like a harmony, but a harmony based on the harmonic overtone series, where it's 108 hertz, 2 times 108, which is 216, 3 times 108, which is 324, and 4 times 108, which is 432. But I also have moments where I use them in this way, where I turn up the reverb, which really blurs the pulsing. So now the pulsing is blurred, so we're no longer really getting much of an effect of binaural beating, but we're getting an aesthetic effect of this harmony. And I just find it to be a very pleasing harmony. And I will adjust gradually at times the positions of these faders so that some stand out more than others, maybe gradually reduce the fundamental. And so, especially in my second experiment, that was just ocean waves and binaural beating, but it also had this, which I didn't really express at the title. But gradual changes between these things really kind of set it apart, I think, and still it's the one that has the most views of any in the series, although I noticed when I was listening to it again a couple weeks ago, YouTube started adding an ad to it, which I have no control over because I need to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time in the past 365 days in order to control ad placement and take them out of the middle of these things. So that's why I try to release things every week so that there's always a new one there that doesn't have ads in it. Because anytime it passes 100 views, they can, not always, but they can put ads in it. And that kind of ruins things, So I put new ones out to try and keep, content going and to hear more feedback about what's working. I think for this Sunday's one, which will be October 17th, I'm going to, I have plans of doing rain. I've had a recording of rainfall that I recorded here on our land a couple years ago, and then another one I recorded, I think it was last week, and but I'm listening through them because I got to edit them, because there's sometimes where a breeze hits and maybe I didn't have the microphones, I didn't have a wind diffuser on the mic in one case, and so when too much of a breeze hits, I got to cut that out because you're in the microphone. In some cases, there's dogs barking, and if it's distant dog barking, it could be somewhat pleasing. But a few acres away, there's a neighbor, and even at a few acres, their dog can really sound annoying. And so those sections I got to get rid of. And so that's taking me time to get through that. But basically, I want to do more with actual field recordings that I make, and kind of blending that together with some of the synthesized material. I think I could use some soft noise, or kind of like wind enhancements with the synthesizers to kind of glue the rain together a bit, and so that I can switch from segments that are usable from different parts of the recording and have it all gel together. And then, of course, implement some tones and some other sounds, a little bit of melody. I've gotten good responses about my use of melody in the most recent one, which was number 8. And so I am going to probably do more of that. Keep it more towards the beginning, in that state where you're starting to relax, and it's something that kind of takes the mind on a walk and allows the mind to slow down a little bit before you get to points where things become more static and stable, like this, where the actual point of maybe a theta or delta wave state have been reached. Because even if these are set to do delta wave state, there's probably a time lapse from when you're in your beta state, drifting down into alpha and theta before you get to delta. So it's pulling you down. It's not just a switch that gets thrown. And of course, some folks, it may not respond to it. It may not do it. I mean, these things are different for different people. And of course, there's always the occasion where you, maybe your mind is so hung up on something at the time that there's not much you can do about it. It's just going to be hung up on something. I know how that is. And then the harder thing for me is, since I'm making these things, when I'm listening to them, I'm also analyzing the recording. Like, oh, I moved the fader too fast there, or this section is too long, I need to shorten that. But in that ever ongoing quest for perfection still, It's not going to be perfect for everyone because everyone has their different needs, and maybe in the future I'll do custom recordings as the channel grows, and definitely at that point where it gets beyond the suggestion stage where I'm still experimenting and putting different things together, I might, at that point try to monetize it a bit. It's a growth process. I'll always continue to have free content, but it is definitely a hope of mine to support my independent artist lifestyle. Okay, so I guess let's go back to the beating and take off the reverb. But that, after a while, that just becomes a pleasing, stable sound. But you need to be led to it. It can't be right away, because right away the mind's still active and it wants to be entertained. So you need to entertain it a bit with some melody to begin with, I believe. And some things going on. Soothing things, but things going on until you get to a point where you can just have stable tones and your mind has slowed down enough that it doesn't need entertainment anymore. It's just in the zone, so to speak. I'll let this play a little bit. Now, obviously, when it's binaural beating, if you're not using headphones, you're not going to get the full effect. Okay, I'm gonna actually probably fall asleep if I keep doing this. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you've gotten some, some learning in there about binaural beating, different brainwave states. You can easily Google the ranges of brainwave states. Well, I use Brave Search, but if you use Google, whatever you want to use, the brainwave frequencies is what you would search for, and the ranges are pretty much line up from the different sources. Sometimes they have the ranges overlap a little bit, but generally it's your waking state is basically 13 pulses per second and above, And it says ranging up to 30. It's like, well, and then they have a gamma state above that 30 to 90 hertz. I would think that would be like a heightened state of awareness, or not heightened state and awareness the way a lot of us use it. I mean, heightened alertness, like the state you don't normally want to be in, fight or flight probably, you know, and we don't need that except when we're trying to survive something. But yeah, 13 to 30 is your waking state rates, and the alpha state, kind of like trance, I guess could be meditation. Maybe a little fast for meditation, but relaxing, trance-inducing would be, I see some places 10 to 13, and some places 8 to 13. And then theta, which is the deeper hypnagogic state, like partially awake, partially asleep. That's between 4 to 8, or sometimes I see 4 to 10, where it can overlap a little bit with alpha, around the 8 and 10 hertz range. And then delta is 4 and below. And that's what I like to use. Maybe it's because it's so hard for me to slow my mind down. It's like, give me the hard stuff, you know? And maybe it'll get me into an alpha state. All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care and stay free.